A man met a sexy woman online and then received flirtatious messages from her, inviting him for a late-night date at her home. However, when he arrived at the location, he was shocked to learn that the woman had actually died naked in bed several days earlier. Just as he was about to turn and flee the scene, the victim mysteriously came back to life and even made a creepy midnight call. Hello, welcome to the Crime Documentary Files channel. In October 2008, shortly after the National Day holiday, Yang Jun had a delightful encounter in Handan City, Hebei, China. Just a few days ago, Yang Jun met someone called Pretty Sis online. They had a great chat, and Pretty Sis even invited him to her home for deeper conversations. Yang Jun could not resist the unexpected romance. On the agreed day of October 12th, he finished work early, dressed up properly, and headed to the address she had provided while humming a little tune. Previously, Pretty Sis told Yang Jun that she lived in Building 4, Unit 1, Apartment 401 of a neighborhood. However, when Yang Jun found the apartment, he saw that there was a seal on its door. Yang Jun checked the seal with the torch on his phone and saw that the date on it was from the previous day. Upon checking once again, Yang Jun realized that he had not gone to the wrong address, which made him slightly confused. Despite his confusion, Yang Jun built up the courage to knock on the door, but there was no response after a few minutes of constant knocking. Just as he was about to knock again, the neighbor across the hall suddenly opened the door and asked who Yang Jun was looking for. Yang Jun replied, "I was looking for the occupant of 401, to which the neighbor astonishingly said, "Your friend was killed a few days ago. The police have put a seal on the door, didn't you see it?" while pointing out the seal on the door. Shocked by this, Yang Jun left the building in a hurry. However, as soon as he left the neighborhood, he heard his phone ringing, and the caller was none other than Pretty Sis. Yang Jun nervously answered the call, and a girl on the other end gently asked if he had arrived. Yang Jun replied, "You have been dead for days. Why are you asking me out?" The girl huffed and said, "You must have got the wrong address." Then she hung up. Although Yang Jun temporarily avoided Pretty Sis, the midnight call absolutely startled him. After hanging up, Yang Jun planned to leave the neighborhood, but at that moment, the security guard noticed Yang Jun behaving suspiciously and approached him to inquire about the situation. Upon learning that Yang Jun was heading to a date with someone at 401 where a crime occurred, the security guard took Yang Jun to his office straightway and promptly informed the police. The police quickly brought Yang Jun back to the station for questioning after receiving the call. After Yang Jun explained the whole situation, the police naturally ruled out any suspicion against him. From the clues provided by Yang Jun, it can be implied that the reason he appeared here is because someone called him using the victim's phone to invite him over. Therefore, the person who called Yang Jun is highly likely to be the culprit. So, what exactly happened in room 401 before Yang Jun's visit? One day ago, as Yang Jun was busy chatting and connecting with Pretty Sis online, the police in Handan City were working hard to solve a homicide. On the morning of October 11th, the police in Handan City, Hebei province, received a call. The caller reported that they had not been able to contact their cousin Huo Jingwen for several days. When they went to her house to look for her with a few relatives, they were shocked to find Huo Jingwen naked and hidden under the sheet in a gap under the bed. This terrified them, and they called the police immediately. After receiving the call, the police swiftly arrived at the scene. Inspecting closely, they found that not only was Huo Jingwen naked, but her hands were also bound. A forensic examination was conducted on Huo Jingwen's body shortly after. The autopsy report indicated that the victim was 34 years old, and the time of death was October 2nd. The cause of death was asphyxiation, meaning she was strangled by someone. Since there were no signs of defensive wounds on Huo Jingwen's body and no traces of struggle at the crime scene, The police speculated that the perpetrator was likely an acquaintance of the victim. At the same time, based on the bloodstains found on the floor, investigators concluded that the bedroom where the body was discovered was not the primary crime scene, suggesting that the killer likely moved the body there after committing the crime elsewhere. If the killer were a woman, it is highly unlikely she could have done this physically, so it was most likely a man. In order to find the murderer as soon as possible, the police have started checking the CCTV around the neighborhood. Unfortunately, after going through a whole month's worth of footage, they still haven't seen any suspicious individuals. It wasn't until the investigation progressed to the late night of October 12th that the police in Handan received a call from the security guard of Huo Jingwen's neighborhood saying that there was a suspicious-looking man who claimed he needed to find someone in room 401. This led to an important lead in the case. During the interrogation of Yang Jun later, the police obtained all the chat records between Yang Jun and Pretty Sis. It was found that the two had only known each other for 5 days. The police confirmed that Huo Jingwen had been murdered at that time, so they immediately ruled out Yang Jun as a suspect. However, when going through the chat records, the police remembered that the investigators had checked Huo Jingwen's computer at the scene before, but found that the computer's PC had been removed. Therefore, the police believed that the killer might have pretended to be Huo Jingwen online, chatted with other men, and lured them to the scene of the crime in order to frame them for the crime. Since the murderer contacted Yang Jun through the internet and calls, is it possible to find useful clues from the victim's phone communications? Therefore, the investigators immediately pulled the call records of the days before and after the murder of Huo Jingwen and found that she had multiple calls with a woman named Tong Tong. Hence, the police quickly located Tong Tong and started questioning her. When she was questioned by the police, Tong Tong claimed that she and Huo Jingwen were good friends, often hanging out or eating out together. In fact, 4 days after Huo Jingwen's death, she received a message from Huo Jingwen. However, when Tong Tong tried to call back, there was no answer. Later, Huo Jingwen even sent a message saying she was going to another city for medical treatment. Other than that, Tong Tong also found other unusual things about Huo Jingwen recently, such as the recent text messages sent had a completely different style to her previous texts. Before Huo Jingwen was killed, there were many typos in the messages she sent, but the messages she sent recently read like essays, with punctuation and wording being very precise. This also made the police more certain that the killer has been using the victim's number to contact others after committing the crime. So, who was the person constantly sending messages to Tong Tong? And how did this person know that Tong Tong is a friend of Huo Jingwen's? When the police were at a loss about the unanswered questions, a more bizarre thing happened. Huo Jingwen actually came back to life. As the police were tracking Huo Jingwen's call records, they discovered that all the money in Huo Jingwen's bank account had been withdrawn from the ATM by someone. When the police checked the cameras near the bank, they saw a woman with a white hat and slightly plump figure taking money from Huo Jingwen's account. Surprisingly, this woman looked very similar to Huo Jingwen, even wearing the same clothes as seen in the photos at Huo Jingwen's house. The whole case took a more mysterious turn with the appearance of this woman who bore a striking resemblance to Huo Jingwen. The police then immediately obtained all surveillance footage around the bank from that day. They found that after withdrawing the money, the woman rode off on a bicycle, intentionally taking a few detours through several main roads before finally disappearing into a small alleyway. Unfortunately, since there were no cameras in that alley, the authorities were unable to determine where she went at the end. However, just as the police started to feel a bit disheartened, a policeman who had been carefully studying the call details of Huo Jingwen suddenly discovered a suspicious phone number. This number started with 139, But what was suspicious was that this number had only been active for a few days. Since its activation, the number had made a total of 8 outgoing calls, and these 8 calls all reached one person only, which was Huo Jingwen herself. However, after Huo Jingwen was killed, this number strangely became inactive. This information further led the police to believe that the person using this phone number was likely the killer. Unfortunately, when the police tried to retrieve the identity information of the owner of the number, they found that all the registration information of the owner was fake. Therefore, the police had no way to immediately determine the identity of the suspect through this number. Nevertheless, for the police in Handan, the appearance of the number 139 undoubtedly served as an important clue. Consequently, the police expanded the investigation of Huo Jingwen's call records to January 2008, comparing all time periods of incoming and outgoing call one by one. Progressing until August 2008, the police suddenly noticed a mobile number starting with 132. This number had been closely in contact with Huo Jingwen for a month, displaying a communication pattern remarkably similar to the one with the number 139, even down to the timing of the calls. After investigating further, the police discovered that the owner of this number is named Guo Mei, a 35-year-old woman. Her appearance and physique bear some resemblance to Huo Jingwen, and the police started to suspect that she might be the woman who previously went to the bank to withdraw money. The police quickly located Guo Mei's home, and a search was promptly conducted upon arrival. The authorities swiftly discovered items belonging to Huo Jingwen in Guo Mei's room, including a PC, cell phone, wallet, and other items. Subsequently, the police proceeded to interrogate Guo Mei. However, much to their surprise, Guo Mei remained silent in the interrogation room, occasionally displaying a resigned expression, seemingly trying hard to protect someone. With their extensive experience in handling cases, the seasoned police officers gradually realized that Guo Mei alone could not have carried out the entire crime. Her resistance was likely an attempt to shield the true killer. From the clues previously found by the police, it is highly likely that Guo Mei had a deep connection with this male perpetrator. In order to quickly find the suspect, the police investigated Guo Mei's social network. Soon, during the process of inquiries and investigations, the police found out that a man named Yang Hongjie often stayed overnight at Guo Mei's house. Upon conducting a brief investigation on Yang Hongjie's information, the police surprisingly discovered that he had a wife and children. This lead made the police realize that they might be able to break through Guo Mei's psychological defenses using this angle. So the police once again entered the interrogation room, where they first asked Guo Mei if she knew Yang Hongjie. After receiving Guo Mei's vague response, the police took the opportunity to mention the fact that Yang Hongjie was a married man, which triggered a surprised and angry expression from her, and Ti completely exposed her relationship with Yang Hongjie. Under the aggressive psychological pressure from the police, Guo Mei confessed everything. Guo Mei told the police that she and Yang Hongjie have been living together as a married couple since they started dating. She basically obeyed Yang Hongjie's every word, so even when Yang Hongjie came home one day and confessed to Guo Mei that he had murdered someone who owed him money in a fit of anger, Guo Mei's initial reaction was not to persuade him to go to the police, but to do everything possible to help cover up the crime for her lover. Therefore, Guo Mei started to carry out a series of actions under the guidance of Yang Hongjie. Before the incident, Yang Hongjie claimed to be busy with work, asking Guo Mei to help him get a SIM card under a false identity. After the incident, Yang Hongjie even handed Guo Mei a key, instructing her to go to Huo Jingwen's house to deal with a few things. These tasks included turning on Huo Jingwen's computer, deleting all chat messages, taking the PC, cleaning and tidying up the scene, and logging into Huo Jingwen's QQ account. Following his instructions, Guo Mei engaged in conversations with men online using a scripted dialogue, and then found ways to lead them to the victim's home. Later, he contacted Huo Jingwen's friend Tong Tong, informing her that Huo Jingwen was going on a trip to see a doctor. Guo Mei then disguised herself as Huo Jingwen to go to the bank to withdraw money. It's worth noting that Yang Hongjie told Guo Mei that he killed Huo Jingwen while collecting debts, and his motive was that Huo Jingwen owed him money. The question remains whether this is Yang Hongjie's true motive for committing the crime. During the subsequent investigation, the police successfully arrested Yang Hongjie, who was having dinner with his wife at a local restaurant, by investigating the surveillance footage. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Yang Hongjie could not deny and confessed everything. From his confession, the police also learned the true reason behind his murder of Huo Jingwen. Before the incident, Yang Hongjie had been secretly involved with Guo Mei for a full 2 years, without his wife and children knowing. However, as time passed, he slowly started to feel bored of Guo Mei. Feeling unsatisfied, Yang Hongjie met Huo Jingwen online one day. Huo Jingwen bore some resemblance to Guo Mei, and they were both his type. Seeking a bit of thrill, Yang Hongjie immediately pursued Huo Jingwen aggressively. Under Yang Hongjie's sweet words, Huo Jingwen also developed thoughts for an online romance, and they established their relationship since then. After meeting his new girlfriend Huo Jingwen, Yang Hongjie often used the excuse of going out for work to avoid living with Guo Mei. In reality, during this period of distancing himself from Guo Mei, Yang Hongjie was enjoying a sweet married life with Huo Jingwen at her home. However, this life did not last long, and Yang Hongjie gradually felt overwhelmed. At that time, he had to manage the expenses of his wife, children, and Guo Mei, while also spending money on his new girlfriend. Therefore, with empty pockets, Yang Hongjie had an evil idea. He planned to get some money from his girlfriend. Guo Mei wasn't good at saving, so he couldn't get any money from her. But Huo Jingwen was different, and she lived frugally. When Yang Hongjie went to Huo Jingwen's house previously, he saw Huo Jingwen's bank card and bank passbook, which made her appear to have a lot of savings. So Yang Hongjie asked her for a loan. However, to Yang Hongjie's surprise, his request for a loan was quickly rejected by Huo Jingwen with excuses. Unable to borrow money, an evil idea arose in Yang Hongjie's mind. That is to directly kill Huo Jingwen and take over her property as his own. To ensure the plan's success, Yang Hongjie first borrowed Guo Mei's SIM card to contact Huo Jingwen, and then had Guo Mei obtain a new SIM card under a fake identity to continue communicating with Huo Jingwen. On the night of October 2nd, Yang Hongjie went to Huo Jingwen's house. After having sex with her, Yang Hongjie took advantage of her vulnerability and tied up the naked Huo Jingwen. He cruelly took Huo Jingwen's life after forcing her to tell him the passbook and bank card passwords. In order to completely distance himself from the incident, Yang Hongjie cleaned the house before leaving. He instructed Guo Mei to use Huo Jingwen's phone number and QQ account to frequently contact her friends and relatives online according to his requests, intending to confuse them and evade punishment. However, to their surprise, their crime was exposed sooner than expected. This bizarre case came to a close with the arrest of the two individuals. In the end, Yang Hongjie was sentenced to death for murder, with a 2-year suspended sentence. After undergoing rehabilitation for 2 years, his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. The other party involved, Guo Mei, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for harboring a criminal. The collaboration between Yang Hongjie and Guo Mei, along with their various despicable acts in this case, are contemptible. The ordeal of the victim, Huo Jingwen, serves as a reminder to each and every one of us. We should stay cautious when connecting with friends that hide behind the screen, and we shouldn't easily get involved emotionally, not to mention inviting them to our own home. What do you think of this case? Please tell us in the comments. If you enjoy watching my videos, you can like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any new videos. Thank you for watching. See you next time.